Hi everyone, let's dive into a question that's been on the minds of many. What happens when you stop texting her? What is she really thinking? To set the stage, imagine this. Andrew has been texting Sophie, a woman he's deeply interested in. At first, everything seemed to flow naturally. Their conversations were engaging, replies were frequent, and there was a spark in the air. But as time went on, things began to shift. Sophie started pulling back. Her replies became shorter, her responses took longer, and that initial excitement seemed to fade. Sound familiar? Andrew is now stuck in a cycle of doubt, wondering, should I keep texting her and risk looking desperate, or should I stop and see what happens? It's a dilemma many of us have faced, and it can feel confusing and frustrating. Today, we're peeling back the layers to explore what's really going through a woman's mind when the texting stops. You'll learn why stepping back can shift the dynamic in your favor, and how this single decision can sometimes become a defining moment in how she perceives you. Stay with me, because as we break this down, each point will build upon the next. By the end, you'll have a clear understanding of the psychology of attraction and how it plays into the way we communicate. Point 1. Women and the power of attention. Let's begin with a fundamental truth. Attention is a universal human desire. For many women, especially those accustomed to receiving frequent attention from men, it becomes a natural part of their social reality. It's not necessarily about being self-centered. It's often about how they navigate and validate their social standing. When you're texting her consistently, you become part of her attention circle, a group of people she knows will give her time and energy. If she's attractive, chances are she's accustomed to having multiple people vying for her attention. Your texts, no matter how genuine or thoughtful, might not feel exceptional to her. She may enjoy the attention you give, but that doesn't mean she feels an urgency to respond in kind. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you suddenly stop texting, you disrupt the pattern. For a woman who thrives on attention, this change can be surprisingly impactful. It's like a song that abruptly stops playing mid-chorus. She's left wondering, why did it stop? Did he lose interest? Is he talking to someone else? This shift in dynamics doesn't just create curiosity, it can also spark frustration. To better understand this, imagine a favorite routine of yours. Let's say you visit a cafe every morning, and the staff knows your coffee order by heart. It's comforting and familiar. Then one day, they stop acknowledging you or making your coffee. It's a small change, but it feels jarring, doesn't it? That's exactly how it feels for her when your attention is suddenly absent. This disruption can trigger a range of emotions. For some women, it might ignite curiosity. Why isn't he texting? Did something happen? For others, it could stir a mix of annoyance or even mild insecurity. Wait, was he more important to me than I realized? The important takeaway here is this. By pulling back your attention, you create space for her to reflect on what your presence, or absence, means in her life. This isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding the natural dynamics of how attention influences human connection and perception. So, the next time you're tempted to double text or overanalyze her delays, remember this. Sometimes, less is more. Your silence has a voice of its own, and often it speaks louder than words. Point 2. Why you should stop texting her. Why should you stop texting her in the first place? This is a question that often stirs up self-doubt, fear of losing someone, and a lingering hope that just one more message might change everything. But here's the truth. If you've already made your feelings clear, whether you've directly expressed your interest or she's picked up on it through your consistent actions, and she isn't reciprocating, then continuing to text her is like trying to hold onto water with open hands. No matter how tightly you grip, it slips through your fingers. Let's break this down. When you keep texting someone who isn't as invested as you are, you unintentionally hand over all the control. Your energy is chasing her, while hers is either neutral or pulling away. It's a dynamic where you're giving and she's merely receiving. This imbalance not only weakens your position, but also signals neediness, which can further dampen her interest. Think of it like chasing a butterfly. The harder and faster you run after it, the more it flutters away. But if you stop, remain calm, and let it come to you, there's a better chance it will land gently on your shoulder. The same principle applies here. Stepping back creates space for her to reflect on your absence and recalibrate how she feels about you. But here's the twist. Stopping communication isn't just about her. It's just as much about you. This pause is an opportunity for self-reflection. Instead of expending energy on someone who isn't reciprocating, take a step back and reassess the situation. Ask yourself, why am I chasing someone who isn't showing the same level of interest? Is this dynamic really what I want or deserve? By stopping your texts, you're reclaiming your power. You're saying, I value myself enough to walk away from an unbalanced situation. And this isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate her emotions. It's about breaking free from a cycle that's leaving you drained and unfulfilled. Another critical aspect of stepping back is the clarity it brings. When you stop texting her, it allows you to see the situation for what it really is. Does she reach out to you, showing that she misses your presence? Or does she remain distant, confirming that her interests may not match yours? Either outcome provides valuable insight. Finally, stopping your texts allows you to refocus your energy. Instead of pouring time and effort into someone who isn't meeting you halfway, you can redirect that energy toward yourself. This could mean pursuing hobbies, spending time with friends, or even meeting new people who truly value your time and attention. Point 3. Women who love attention. Now, let's dive into the mindset of a woman who thrives on attention. For some women, especially those who are used to being the center of attention, validation from others isn't just a perk, it's a comfort zone. These women are accustomed to having a steady stream of admirers, always seeking their time, energy, and affection. Even when they're not particularly interested in a relationship, they enjoy the chase and the admiration that comes with it. For them, attention is like a constant source of validation. It's similar to applause in a theater. Whether or not they want to pursue a deeper connection with you, your attention still serves as a form of reassurance. The more you text, the more they feel affirmed. But here's the kicker. When you suddenly stop texting, it's like the applause abruptly halts in the middle of a performance. At first, she might feel confused, trying to make sense of the shift. Why isn't he texting me? Did I say something wrong? She may even wonder, doesn't he like me anymore? The sudden absence of your attention creates a void, one that can stir up a sense of uncertainty. This confusion, however, is often the first step in reigniting her curiosity. If she was at all interested, even in a small way, the lack of attention can spark something deeper. Think of it like this. Imagine a woman who's used to receiving a lot of likes and comments on her social media posts. The constant validation feels good, even if it's superficial. But what happens when she posts something and no one reacts? The silence is deafening. She begins to question herself. Was it something I said? Was my post not good enough? In the same way, when you stop texting a woman who craves attention, it's like she's posted something and gotten no likes or comments. It forces her to evaluate both herself and you. This dynamic is fascinating because the attention you once freely gave her becomes a measure of her own worth. Without it, she might start wondering if she's losing her charm, or if you found someone else who's more deserving of your time. This uncertainty, as unsettling as it may be, can prompt a deeper desire for validation, and it can reignite her attraction to you. It's not that she needs you to shower her with endless praise, but for women who are used to the spotlight, even a small shift in attention can make them reevaluate their feelings and their place in your life. Your absence brings her face to face with her own insecurities and desire for recognition. And when this happens, it often triggers a curiosity that might lead her to re-engage with you if she wasn't already fully invested. Point 4. Women who don't want attention. However, it's important to remember that not all women are the same. While some women thrive on attention, there are others, even those who are incredibly beautiful, who genuinely dislike unnecessary attention. These women value their personal space, privacy, and the ability to maintain control over who they allow into their lives. If she's made it clear that she's not interested, perhaps through ghosting, friend-zoning, or outright rejection, continuing to text her can become more of an annoyance than anything else. Think about it this way. Imagine you're being persistently sold something you've repeatedly told the salesperson you don't want. It's not just frustrating, it's downright irritating. The more they try to push their product, the more you start feeling uncomfortable and trapped in a conversation you don't want to be in. Now, what happens when the salesperson finally backs off and stops? There's a feeling of relief, right? That's the exact sensation some women feel when you stop texting them after they've made their disinterest clear. When a woman isn't interested, the constant flow of texts can feel like pressure, a reminder that someone is pushing for her time and energy when she's made it clear she's not ready to invest in that way. By stopping your messages, you're allowing her the space she needs to move on with her life, without feeling the weight of someone's persistent attention on her shoulders. The interesting part? If you do step back and give her that space, she may begin to feel a sense of respect and even appreciation for your ability to let go. It shows that you understand her boundaries and aren't overstepping them, which can foster a sense of mutual respect. And if she ever changes her mind later on, she'll remember your graceful exit, which can leave a positive impression. It's not about disappearing or being cold, it's about walking away with dignity, which can make a huge difference in how she perceives you in the future. The key takeaway here is that knowing when to walk away is just as much about respecting her boundaries as it is about respecting yourself. Sometimes, walking away isn't a sign of giving up, it's a sign of maturity and emotional intelligence. You're acknowledging that both your time and energy are valuable, and that you won't settle for anything less than someone who is equally invested. In the long run, this approach not only helps preserve your self-worth, but it also demonstrates a level of strength and self-respect that can be incredibly attractive. Point 5. Breaking the fantasy trap. Now, let's turn the focus onto you, because while walking away may sound straightforward, it's often far more difficult in practice. When you're genuinely into someone, it's easy to get lost in the daydreams of what could be. You start picturing the perfect relationship, the ideal dates, the deep late-night conversations, the future you might share together, even the idea of a family. Your mind begins to paint a beautiful picture of a life that doesn't exist yet, but it feels so real in your imagination. The danger here is that the more you indulge in these fantasies, the more you become attached, not just to her as a person, but to the idea of her. You might begin to project all of your hopes, dreams, and desires onto this person, without really seeing her for who she truly is in the present moment. It's as though you're holding on to an image of someone that doesn't entirely align with the reality of who they are or what they're offering. And here's the thing. The deeper you go into this fantasy, the harder it becomes to let go when reality doesn't meet those expectations. You might find yourself clinging to an idealized version of the relationship, desperately trying to make it fit, even when the signs are clear that it's not working. You're no longer seeing her for who she truly is. You're seeing her as the person you want her to be, which creates an emotional disconnect from reality. So, what's the solution to this fantasy trap? Ground yourself in reality. Start shifting your focus from what could be to what actually is. Ask yourself honest questions. Is she showing the same level of interest and investment that I am? Is she genuinely making an effort to connect, or am I the one carrying the weight of this relationship on my own? If the answer is that she's not equally invested, it's time to start redirecting that energy. Start pouring your attention and effort into things that nurture you, your own passions, hobbies, and personal growth. Reclaim your focus on your own well-being and self-worth. Instead of waiting for her to meet your emotional needs, recognize that you have the power to fulfill those needs within yourself. When you shift the focus from the fantasy of a perfect relationship to the reality of the present moment, you begin to see things with more clarity. You stop ignoring red flags or dismissing your own feelings. You stop putting your happiness in someone else's hands. Most importantly, you stop holding on to an idealized version of someone who isn't showing up in the ways you deserve. Point 6. Balancing emotion and logic. Now, let's discuss one of the most important principles in dating: balancing emotion and logic. It can be tempting to get swept up in your feelings when you're really into someone. But here's the golden rule. Don't let your emotions override your logic. When you're emotionally invested, it's easy to go into overdrive, chasing after her with an intensity that can come across as overwhelming or even needy. And, as you've probably guessed, Neediness is a massive turnoff in any relationship. It's not only unattractive, but it can also create an unbalanced dynamic where you're doing all the emotional labor and she's left feeling like she has to pull away to regain her space. Instead of chasing her with unchecked emotion, the key is to match her level of investment. Relationships are a two-way street, and the energy you put in should mirror the energy she's giving back. If she's texting you twice a day, don't overwhelm her with 10 messages in a row. This can send the message that you're desperate or overly reliant on her attention for your emotional satisfaction. Instead, pace yourself. If she's showing moderate interest, match that energy with equal enthusiasm, but not an exaggerated one. Here's a helpful analogy. Think of dating like a tennis match. In tennis, there's a rhythm to the game. The ball gets served over the net and you send it back. If one player just keeps serving ball after ball without receiving a return shot, what's happening? It's not really a game anymore, it's just a workout. The match becomes one-sided and lacks the back and forth energy that makes it enjoyable for both players. The same goes for dating. If you're always the one initiating conversations and sending messages, and she's not responding with equal effort, it starts to feel like a one-sided game. The emotional rally becomes unbalanced. But when both people are giving and receiving in equal measure, the connection feels natural, comfortable, and enjoyable. This kind of equilibrium creates a healthy dynamic where both parties feel equally invested. By pacing yourself and matching her level of interest, you're creating a relationship where both people contribute their energy without overwhelming each other. It's about maintaining balance. The key to success in relationships isn't to constantly give without receiving. It's to build a connection based on mutual respect, understanding, and equal emotional effort. This approach doesn't mean you can't show her affection or express your feelings. It simply means being mindful of the energy you're investing and being aware of whether or not she's reciprocating. By keeping the emotional intensity in check and ensuring you're not overly investing when the other person isn't meeting you halfway, you create a healthier and more sustainable connection. Point 7. The long game in relationships. So, what if you're already in a relationship? The same principles we've discussed apply even more strongly in long-term commitments. It's easy to think that once you're in a relationship, things should simply fall into place. However, even in established relationships, people often start taking each other for granted. The initial spark and excitement can fade if both partners stop putting in the effort to maintain the connection. Long-term relationships require constant care and attention to keep them healthy. The romance doesn't always have to be about grand gestures or extravagant displays of affection every single day. It's not about always planning surprise dates or constantly showering each other with gifts. What truly matters is the consistent effort to keep the relationship alive. This means continuing to date each other, communicate effectively, and show affection in small, meaningful ways. It's the little things. The text just to say, "I miss you," the random hugs, the time spent truly listening to each other that keep the bond strong. Think of it like maintaining a car. You don't just buy a car and expect it to run forever without doing any maintenance. If you want it to last, you need to fuel it, clean it, and give it regular checkups. You take care of the car to ensure it continues running smoothly and safely. Relationships work in a very similar way. If you don't nurture and maintain the emotional connection, it can start to sputter. The relationship may feel like it's on autopilot, or worse, begin to break down over time. It's important to continue to date each other even when you've been together for a while. Set aside time for fun activities, try new things, and experience life together in ways that reinforce your bond. Communication remains crucial. Talk about your thoughts, feelings, and goals, and make sure you're both on the same page. Don't just assume your partner knows how much you care. Show it, say it, and express it in ways that resonate with them. And don't forget the affection, whether it's physical, emotional, or verbal. Showing your partner that they're loved and appreciated is key to keeping the relationship vibrant. While the excitement may not always be as intense as it was in the early days, the goal of a long-term relationship is to create a deeper, more sustainable connection. The more effort you put in to maintain it, the more rewarding the relationship becomes over time. It's about maintaining that emotional fuel and ensuring both partners feel valued and understood. So remember, relationships are not just about riding the wave of excitement when things are new. They're about creating a foundation that can stand the test of time. Keep putting in the effort, keep the communication open, and keep the affection flowing. If you do, you'll both reap the long-term rewards of a strong, lasting partnership. If you've stuck with me this far, congratulations. You're already well on your way to understanding not just the inner workings of attraction and how women think, but also how to value yourself in the process. This journey isn't just about decoding the mysteries of dating. It's also about building your self-awareness and understanding the importance of your own time, energy, and emotional well-being. By learning these principles, you're equipping yourself with the tools to navigate relationships in a healthier, more balanced way. Remember, dating isn't a one-sided effort. It's about mutual investment. Both parties should be putting in the same amount of energy, care, and attention to make the connection grow and thrive. If she's not showing the green light, don't keep idling at a red light, hoping it will turn in your favor. Don't waste time waiting for someone who isn't meeting you halfway. Instead, focus on your own personal growth and goals, and trust that, by doing so, you'll eventually find someone who values and appreciates you just as much as you value them. Think of your dating life like navigating down a road. If you keep driving in the wrong direction, you're just wasting fuel. But if you focus on the road ahead, one that aligns with your values and where both partners are equally invested, you'll eventually meet the right person who will journey with you toward mutual happiness and fulfillment. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever stopped texting someone? And how did it play out? Did it change the dynamic? Did it help you gain clarity on the situation? Feel free to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested in hearing your stories. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more insights like this. Thanks so much for watching, and as you move forward in your dating journey, always remember, never settle for relationships that drain you. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, value your time, and respect your energy. You deserve nothing less. Until next time, take care and keep prioritizing yourself in the process.